I first want to start off this video by saying I am no different than you. I think that's the number one goal with this video. I don't want to just explain how it was fighting and talk about myself and talk about um, winning and fighting and how that was in the ring and leading up to the ring and the training and the aftermath, because all of that is important and those are details that I am going to share. But you can hear that everywhere else. You've heard fighters talk about, their first fight. You've heard fighters talk about the aftermath, the training, all those aspects of a fight. Even someone like myself who isn't necessarily a fighter, um, not a professional one. But the thing I want to stress and the thing I want to put out there is that you are no different than me, right? You can do it yourself as long as you're willing to train, as long as you're willing to get in there and risk it all. Um, you're only a few actions from being the guy you want to be. You're only a few actions from being your future self. So that's what I'd like to talk about. At the end of the day, I'm very proud of myself. I'm very happy with what I've accomplished, but I do think I could have done a lot better in the fight. I think there's a lot of, sloppiness during the fight. I think there were times that I could have pressed a bit harder, times that I could have put on more pressure, times I could have been more defensive. Overall, I'm very grateful for the whole event. I'm very grateful to my coaches on my side, my teammates, my brother, my family and friends who came out to watch me. The whole arena and the promotion, the promoters, I'm grateful for all of it. And I couldn't have asked for a better first fight. I couldn't have asked for a better amateur bout. Um, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's an amazing experience and I wouldn't change it for anything. Um, I'm also very grateful that, things went well with the judges, because there's always that fear in the back of your head of like, even though I think I won, even though maybe I did win, that's not what they see. And you can't see what they see. And your friends might tell you won, but at the end of the day, it is up to the judges. I watched the fight back and I definitely do think I got the better of my opponent. And I do think I outboxed him overall. He got some good shots on me. And overall, it was a very good fight. I think it was one of the more entertaining ones of the night, which was, amazing for me to say and for me to hear from other people. But I think there's a lot of things with the fight that are just amateur things. So, we got tired in the third round. Um, Pacing ourselves was a bit of a issue throughout the fight. I would say I paced myself very well. I would say the biggest thing and the best thing I did during the fight was stay calm. I was very tense in the back before going in. I was very stressed. There were a lot of things going through my head. Um, and when you're back there and it's your first time, you're just thinking of like so many different things that could happen. But as soon as that music came on, as soon as I went out, I was ready. I felt no fear um, of stopping. I felt no fear as in I need to get out. I don't want to do this. I felt fear of possibly losing, possibly not doing my best, but there was no doubt, and that fear fueled me to not get hit, to react at the proper time, to see the shots coming before they come, um, to press forward when you don't want to go forward. And if you understand fighting, if you've been in a ring with another person, even sparring, you understand that it takes a long time to learn, to get used to it, to fight through here and to fight through here and to fight through yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, even. Um, and really, the hard part is showing up to training. Really, the hard part is going when you don't feel like it. The hard part is staying in the rounds that you're losing. The hard part is not getting comfortable. You know, that's the one thing I would also say I did a bit, I could have done a lot better is I could have pressed more in the third round and really gave it a lot more in the third round. But I think I had felt comfortable because in my head, you know, whether I was thinking about it or not, which clearly I wasn't because you're in a fight, um, subconsciously I did know that, okay, I won those 2 rounds. I felt like I won those 2 rounds. So going into the third one, I was definitely giving it my all. I'm not denying that, but I felt like there were shots I could have taken that I didn't risk. Um, and maybe that's for the better. Obviously, it's what won me the fight, and I think I did win all 3 rounds. Of course, that's up to opinion, and you have to watch the fight for yourself, which I've uploaded about a week ago. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think I got cleaner shots, landed more shots. I was more of the aggressive fighter, pushing forward. Defensively, I blocked a lot more shots. He got some pretty good right hands. Towards the end, he got a body shot or two that were pretty good too. But I think overall, I controlled the pace of the fight, and I'm very, very happy with the outcome. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've only been training since December. That might come as a shock because who takes up a fight, you know, after training 4 or 5 months? It's a bit rare, and especially, you know, compared to the others, I was definitely one of the newer people there, because there were a bunch of people that were having amateur bouts, and they all had been, some had been training 10 years. You know, they're my age, but they've been training 10 years. Some are 5 years younger than me, and they've been training 2 years. So boxing is a combat sports as a whole is it's a hard sport because they get into this at a very young age, and for you to catch up, that's essentially what you're doing. Those 4 months of training, I was essentially playing catch up, um, trying to get to the level of these other guys, to hold up in the ring with a guy who's been training way longer than me. And all it took is a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, the same usual stuff that everyone tells you. But at the end of the day, it's a fight, and I don't think it's as simple as saying you gotta just work really hard towards your dreams and you gotta just go for it. I think you have to have this thing that no one else has. I think fighting is in everyone, and I think some people have it, some people don't. I think fighting is also something you need to train not only how to fight, but how to get hit, how to take shots, how to keep going forward. What do you do when someone hits you in the stomach and you feel like you're gonna vomit? Do you stay in there? Do you get out? Do you stop? Do you complain? Do you get better? Do you progress? How do you take a loss? Even if it's, you know, not a loss, because in sparring it's always learning. Whether you're doing better than your sparring partner or you're doing worse, you're just learning. How do you take that when you go home and you feel like you didn't try your best, or you did try your best, but the other guy was still better than you? You're still behind, you know? How do you take that? Boxing and combat sports, from what I've seen, is all the mental battle outside of the mats, outside of the ring. That's really where you can tell the fighters from the non-fighters. And yeah, the other aspect of it that I was the most nervous about was that it's a performance and that it's a competition. At the end of the day, there is a trophy, there is a winner and a loser, there's first place, second place. It's a competition, right? So there's that competitive aspect, which I personally love, and I haven't really had since I've played, you know, football when I was younger. Um, Soccer, for those of you who are American. I don't know if any Americans are even watching, but yeah. So that competitive nature was definitely something that I felt good with, and I think I do better under pressure than no pressure, right? I think there is something to be said about being relaxed and not taking things too seriously. I do think that that makes you a better fighter, because the one who gets emotional, the one who overthinks what he's doing, the one who puts the win on the pedestal will always do worse. Um, but I think I thrive under competition. I think I thrive under pressure. I think without it, I get lazy, I get bored, I become slower. And I don't mean that physically, I mean that mentally, I mean that spiritually. Um, and the last aspect of it, which was the hardest thing to get really used to, was the performance aspect. You have your friends on the sidelines watching you, you have family watching you, you have their family, your opponent's family watching you, you have your coach on the side of the ring. We've been training months saying we're going to win this fight. We've been training months, weekly, not daily, weekly, talking about how we got to do what we got to do. And not only physically, hours put in every week to get good enough to survive in there, just to survive in there, let alone pick the better shots and outperform your opponent, outbox your opponent, and win the fight, win the judges, win the entertainment aspect of it too. And I think I got used to that with the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins was really what calmed me down when it comes to having a crowd of people watching you. I think the weigh-ins gives you an opportunity to realize that, listen, at the end of the day, it's you and your opponent in there. There's the ref, there's the coaches, there's the crowd, but at the end of the day, the action is between you and your opponent, and all you can control is what you do, right? Boxing isn't just about boxing, it really is just a metaphor to life. That might sound corny, that might, be common knowledge in a way, but you really see it once you're in there. And you can't help but think, like, wow, all those mental struggles I had to beat before stepping in the ring. So I really don't think competing in boxing is for everyone. I do think it's one of those things, or in combat sports in general, is for everyone. I really do think it's one of those things that you have to be cut from a certain cloth. I will not stop anyone from trying what they want to. And I believe that if you think you can do it, which you should think that you can do it, then you will. Because that's where I was months ago. When I first saw my brother have his first amateur fight, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, I want to get in there. I feel like I can do this. And that's what I did. That week, I didn't get in there. I didn't say, put me up for a fight. I trained. Because that's all you got to do. So you got to know if you're interested in getting anywhere in life, any goal, right? Because it doesn't have to do anything to do with combat sports or boxing or any of this, right? This is just a video of me explaining my life over the past few months, and this boxing match happens to represent a period of time. And all it is a goal. All it is a mission. And whether it is to get into a boxing fight, whether it is to compete in combat sports, whether it's to make a certain amount of money per month, whether it's to do something for your family, whatever mission you're on, you got to realize that all it takes is the training, all it takes is the action, all it takes is the mental belief that you can do it, and you will. Now, it will take time. You might lose. Every day you're gonna lose before the fight, right? There were so many days that I got injured, that I felt like shit mentally, I felt like shit physically, I had spiritual problems, so many different things. So many different things that happened before the fight where I could have gave up, where I could have said, today I'm not going to go training. And you've heard it all before, but you can't stress it enough that those are the days that count. Those are the days that matter, the days when you don't want to go. Those are the days that make a difference, because when you're in the ring and you get hit in the face, what are you going to do? You're going to hit him twice as hard? You're going to start blocking those shots? Or are you going to repeat the same mistake and keep falling into that trap, right? It took mental fortitude before going into that fight for me to win that fight. It took not eating certain foods before going into that fight, months before the fight. It took losing weight. It took mentally cutting people out of my life. And I don't mean that in a big way, but I had to prioritize. There were points where I could have picked this or training, and I had to pick training because in my mind that's how seriously I was taking it, and I knew that that's what my priority is. And you have to sacrifice. That's the biggest thing. Who wins is who sacrificed more, right? Again, in boxing, in life, in combat sports, all of it, right? I lost about 10 kilograms going to this fight. Um, over the months, I had reached a very high weight, which I'm not, comfortable walking around in November. So November, December, I started cutting down. I fasted a lot. I cut everything bad out of my diet. Every day I started eating clean. Of course, I cheated. Of course, I had times where I had, carbs and useless sugars and cheat meals, whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, as soon as the fight was announced, which was mid-February, I got to training. It was a 9-week training camp. Not as intense, not as professional as you might think, not at all, right? I still went out some nights, stayed out late. I still had fun with my friends. I still dressed nice, and I did a lot. It's not like I locked myself in a room and all I did was boxing, because everyone has a life outside of this. But no doubt, every hour, every day, I would put in some sort of training, whether that was mental, whether that was physical, whether that was relaxing, because even stretching and preparing the mind for the fight is part of the battle. And there wasn't 1 hour out of the day where I wasn't thinking about the fight, planning out the fight, preparing for the fight physically, training for the fight, sparring for the fight, visualizing the fight, meditating on the fight. And some of those things, most of those things, none of those things work on their own, but together they create an intense athlete. They create a winner. Whether that's in business, combat sports, or in life, that creates a winner. Because when you have your physical, your mental, all these different aspects of your body, all these different aspects of your life tuned towards one goal, you must attract that into your life. But you must start with a belief. Everything starts with a belief. So if you believe you can do it, you will. I repeat myself a lot. This is a very, I'm not going to edit any of this. It's going to be a longer video. Most people won't get to this part at all. But I felt like it was necessary, and I just wanted to make it more for myself. I want to look back on this YouTube video. And I did this a while after the fight. I had a bit of a bruise here on top of my eyebrow. So that's not why I didn't want to record. I just wanted to take a week for it to settle in. Because the other aspect of it is I got a trophy. I got a medal, right? It's right there in my room. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I come home, and more importantly, I am not a boxing champion, amateur winner, 1-0, whatever. Like, I'm not that. I am that, right? I take a level of confidence with that, and I know that the next time I step into for sparring, the next time I step into that ring, that is who I am. But at the end of the day, I come home and I'm a son, I'm a brother, I am a friend, I'm just a guy at the end of the day. And I won't let it get to my head, because that's a challenge in itself, is whether you lost or won, what are you going to do now? Because when you win, you can get comfortable, and you can forget about weight and forget about being disciplined. And now the fight is over. Who knows when the next fight's going to be? Immediately the next day, all I could think about was the next fight. All I could think about was how much harder I need to train and how much better I need to get in order to watch myself again and be proud of myself. Because again, I don't want to take anything away from other people and act ungrateful, but I think I could have done a lot better. And that's no disservice to my opponent. That's no disservice to my past self. I just know what I'm capable of. And I know that I can be better. I know that certain times I could have made him miss more. I know at certain times I could have hit harder. I know at certain times I could have added more pressure. And maybe one day I'll do a reaction to the fight, whether it's, a few weeks from now, whether it's years from now, and I've had a couple more amateur bouts. Again, I don't want to make a big deal out of this because at the end of the day, it's just an amateur bout, but for me, it meant a lot. And I put a lot into it. I put a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into it. And it does mean a lot, but it also means nothing. I think you have to have that perspective with everything, because at the same time, it's this playfulness where you don't take something that seriously. So it's that relaxed nature in the ring, but it's also this ferociousness, and it's this attitude that no one can beat you. It's this attitude that try to hit me and watch how I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna make you miss, and I'm gonna hit you twice as hard. And it's playing with those two that creates an amazing boxer, an amazing athlete, an amazing businessman, an amazing man, an amazing person. Is playing with that playfulness and stepping on the gas pedal. And I really do think that this boxing match didn't teach me a lot about boxing only, but most of all, it taught me a lot about life. And I think it's one of the best things I ever decided to do. I'm very grateful for my past self for taking up the opportunity. There are regrets I have. I wish I documented more of it, but maybe if I did document more of it and I had lost, I would say the opposite thing. So maybe that's just how it was meant to be. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't have pictured this going any better. And who knows where it's going to go in the future. All I know is that I'm really happy with the result, but I'm not satisfied with myself. And that might come off the wrong way to other people, but if you're a winner, you'd understand. And I don't mean to say that out of arrogance. I mean to say that out of relatability for those who truly do understand. And it's not about winning, because even if I did lose, I would still think like that. And it's because of that winning mindset. Are you going to train the next week, or are you going to kick your feet up? Are you going to get relaxed? Are you just going to forget about this and forget about that? And now we're back to drinking, and now we're back to having fun and, celebrate. Or are you going to get back to work? Because that's what really matters. I could have said a lot more. The morning of the fight, I woke up with some tooth pain, and I actually hurt my leg the night before. 2 weeks out of the fight, I literally went to the hospital because I tore or twisted a nerve in my hand here doing jiu-jitsu. And then the last 2 weeks of the fight, I didn't train any jiu-jitsu because I was so scared. And it took about 4 days of training out, where I couldn't use my right hand at all, which I'm a southpaw who switches. So that's my jabbing hand, super important, right? But I healed. I didn't think once I'm not gonna fight. I thought only, how am I gonna make this work? And throughout all of this, I think the biggest thing wasn't, the word that keeps coming to my head is compromise. But I think the better word is adapt. No matter what, there were so many things going wrong the day before, like for the weigh-ins. I have to travel from Gozo to get to Malta, and it took me about two and a half hours to get there. So that alone showed a lot of commitment, showed a lot of drive, and proved to myself that I'm willing to go that extra step, that extra mile, literally, compared to these people, and that they are not like me. All of that built the identity in my head. But I was just thinking on the way, like, everything's going wrong, and it just seems like everything's trying to stop me from having this fight and from having this win, and maybe I should just give up, because that's what it seems like things are going towards. Is like, it's like a warning sign. It's like everything that's happening is just pushing me away from the fight. Everything that's happening is trying to stop me from getting what I want. And that's only when I had to just sit, relax, and wait. And compromise. And not compromise as in like, okay, this ferry is gonna be late, my hand is hurting, I'm gonna compromise and compromise my character. I'm never gonna do that. I'm gonna compromise to what the situation is and keep my character intact and keep who I am intact and make sure that whatever goal I set, I go to achieve. And if I told myself I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna compromise with the other people, with the other things, with whatever I need to do to get to that goal. And I think the better word is adapt. And there's a very fine line where that goes too far, right? But I think that's the biggest lesson I got from all of this. I'm grateful for everyone who supported me, all my friends, all the people who liked the Facebook posts and the Instagram posts and the promoters, again, the coaches. All of it I'm super grateful for. And I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. And I'm just in a place of peace. Yet at the same time, all I'm thinking about is the future and what goals I have next, what I have to get to, not only as a fighter, but as a person, in my business, in my life as a whole. And with this YouTube channel, you know, I felt like I sacrificed, especially the last 2 months of this fight, leading up to this fight, I sacrificed so much videos, time, energy that could have went into the YouTube channel, and it just went on the back burner for the fight. And I feel like there's a lot that needs to be caught up with my YouTube audience, and I want to grow this audience even more to what it could be. But I do think this boxing lesson was exactly what I needed and the opportunity that I should have taken. And I did take, and it turned out well. So I'll keep you guys updated. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you're new here, my name is Zach. This is a bit of a weird video to see if you're new here. It's longer, it's drawn out, I repeat myself, but it's raw. And this is what I was thinking, and this is exactly what I would say and show to my younger self, whether that was 4 months ago, 5 months ago before the fight, or years ago when I never thought it'd be possible for me to step in that ring. Because there was a version of myself that wasn't even confident enough to even think about sparring someone, even think about lacing up gloves and hitting the bag out in a gym. And now there's a version of me that performed in front of, you know, thousands of people. And that part is what helps build my identity and build my character. And at the end of the day, that's really what you walk away with. And when you come home, the medal doesn't matter, the trophy doesn't matter, who you are in the mirror matters. So I hope all of you take a look in the mirror and see something you like. And if you don't, that's okay. We've all been there. It's just a matter of what are you going to do? What actions are you going to take to change that? So